Okay, so here I have my just the cheap drone that I'm going to do hydro dip on. I already have everything disassembled. I've got propellers, the propeller motors. Each one is labeled based on this diagram that I have here. I have the camera, I have the flight controller. So I have all of this already disassembled. So we've got the two front folding arms, the two rear folding arms, and then I have the body, which has already been separated. The diagram is to help me when it's time to put it all back. Prop number, name. I do this with anything that I disassemble. Makes everything easier. And then I label parts as well. It just makes it easier to reassemble. I've got 600 grit sandpaper here. I'm going to do the covers, the side, the arms, and then I'm going to prepare for hydro dip. Before I get started on preparation, I'll do the unbox here from hydro dip. Alright, so first we have matte clear. That would be the clear coat. We have the tan. This is the base. And this is the Hydrovator activator spray. The little instruction book. We have hydro dip film, the ink transfer film. I'll pull that out of the packaging when it's time to cut the size. And then we have a little bag of goodies. So we got some gloves in there. We got some Scotch-Brite, it looks like. Let's see. We got some gloves, a little detail brush, it looks like. Scotch-Brite pad, cleaning wipes, and a tack cloth for cleaning. This will be used just before I dip, to make sure there's no dust or anything on the parts. These will be used after I do the sanding. Okay, so unpackaged. Put everything back in here for now, and I'll start on sanding and prepping parts. So like I said, everything has been removed. I'm going to take these little light covers, if I can get them out. If not, no big deal. Okay. We will put that with the other light. I do have a little button here. I can get that out as well. We'll leave that black. So like I said, this is just a cheap drone. I don't want to do this on a more expensive drone. yet. I have one that I want to do, but I'm gonna hold off on doing it for now. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna give these a light scuff. These already have kind of a matte finish, but I want something for the base coat to stick to. So we're just going to give this a light scuff all the way around. And I don't know how this, I've never hydro dipped anything, so I don't know how it's going to work in these little grooves that are cut here. I'm going to try to do it slow, and we'll see what happens. And that's why I don't want to do it on a more expensive drone. Yes, on the more expensive drone I can take the top cover off and just order a new one, but I don't want to spend any more than I absolutely have to on these drones. Another thing that I'll have to do is I'll have to make something to where I can grab and dip, but that won't be too difficult. Probably just some painter's tape. So like I said, we'll get this scuffed up and get it ready for base coat. So I will come back on when I'm ready to do base coat, after I get all of the parts prepped and re-cleaned. To clean them, I'll just use soap and water on them first, before the base coat. And we should be good to go after that. So let me get to this and get it ready to go, and get the rest of these parts ready, and we'll go from there. Okay, so what I did is I used 600 grit. I went ahead and did a just light sand, scuff, what have you, on the parts. I did use the Easy Wipe from the package. I just tore a little piece off, used the air compressor to blow some dust, used the little piece of that Easy Wipe to get a majority of that dust off, the residue. Now I'm going to use the scuff pad and just again lightly go over, making sure that I'm getting every spot that I want to get, that is going to get dipped. I don't know if I'm going to dip the arms. I may just do the base coat and leave them the tan. I may go over them again a little bit with black or green camo colors. But I haven't really decided that yet, because these have this entire thing, like the bottom here has got these sharp ridges, these little nooks and crannies. So trying to figure out how I'm going to dip to get max coverage of the film, and how is it going to lay in on some of these. What I may end up doing is I'll dip it, you know, this way, nose down, at the 30-degree angle it recommends, and just go down, you know, slow obviously, and then as I drop it back, and whatever, if these don't get filled in with the film, which I anticipate they don't, I may use just some paint, maybe enamel, like model paint, and just kind of brush this and fill it in a little bit to see how it does. I'm looking at the top, and the top shell looks pretty good. I'm curious about these little indentions here. I'm not so worried about where the button goes, but I think this one is going to cover pretty well. So I think what I'll do is I'll end up doing it backwards because I want to get, you know, the full coverage. Just thinking of how, you know, placing this into the water, is that film going to be able to wrap around all these different curves and edges to get the max coverage. So I may end up having to go backwards with it, but I don't know. I'm gonna try nose first and see if I can't kind of guide it a little bit. I anticipate a little bit of wrinkle or something back here, and I could always do half and then turn it around and do the other half, leave a racing stripe down the middle. That'd be pretty cool, I guess. But I'm going for the camouflage look, so racing stripe is not so much camouflage. But we'll see. I'll give it a go, see what happens. Like I said, I'm going to continue to use the provided scuff pad and see if I can't just make sure everything's a bit uniform, because I really want that base to stick to have a good finish at the end. So I'm going to continue to do this, and once this is done again, I'll use I'm going to follow the directions, and I'll re-clean with the wipe, and then mask if I want to mask anything, which I don't. So we'll go from there. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to use the tack cloth. Use the tack cloth to wipe everything down, make sure all the dust is off, and then I've got some lacing wire, non-conductive lacing wire, that I'm going to use to hang up these parts and spray when that time comes. Some of these nooks and crannies. See, it's coming off pretty good. I'm not getting a whole lot of dust. Once I cleaned it with the other cloth. Alcohol works really well. The thing about these tack cloths is they're reusable. You can just put them back in the package. Now I'll take this lacing wire and kind of thread it in like so. now I can hang it up and paint it. So I'll do that to all these other parts and get them ready to go. Okay, so I have a little RC car body that I'm going to do this measuring process with. I have it primered with the base coat. I've got 2 coats of base as well as 2 coats of base on the drone parts. All of the components for the drone, those are painted and ready to be dipped. I've got the bucket of water. Right now it is about 87 degrees, 88 degrees, somewhere in that range. I have my film. I have a ruler. This is just a stick that I've attached to Velcro on the back side just to kind of hold it. So we'll measure up. So I'm looking at about 7 inches long, and I'm looking at about we'll go with about 2.5 inches wide. 2 inches wide, give or take. So I want to make sure I have enough material that's going to go all the way around this thing. So I'm going to unload this film, and as I look at this film, it's like a camo pattern, something or another. Not really my favorite, but it'll do. So I'm gonna unroll this, and I think what I'm gonna do is going to unroll this. I'm going to go a little bit further on either side, and I'm going to go ahead and cut the film. Okay, and then we'll cut it up here. One of the videos that I was watching, all things Hydrographic or something, was talking about how he cuts the little slits in the sheet. Okay, so we'll move that. We'll cut slits around the edges there, which is supposed to help it when it's expanding. Sorry, I got the fan going in the garage here. Okay, so now let's go ahead and this up, place it back in the wrapper. Okay, so we'll start doing the little nicks, trying not to crease anything. It's supposed to help with when it expands and not roll up on itself as bad. Per the directions that came with the kit, it's supposed to go shiny side down, which I guess is the film, and the ink is on the back, on the matte side. But we can see we've got a little bit of something there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set it in and let it lay out, that way I minimize the risk of bubbles, and then I'm going to use the masking tape to kind of create a dam, I guess. And then we'll see what happens from there. Let me go out here to the tank, and I will be back momentarily. Okay, so I have the bucket here. I'm going to go ahead and drop in the film as I stated before. A couple little air bubbles there. I can avoid those. As we can see, it's starting to shrivel a little. And then it'll rest. So what I'll do now is I'll do the dam. We let this sit for 60 seconds. And the dam is just, from what I understand, is just to kind of keep it from going everywhere. And then the next step is the activator. And the instructions say consistent passes until the entire surface of the film is wet and glossy. That looks good, and we have to wait 15 to 20 seconds before we can dip. So I will go ahead and get a glove on. Oh, that stuff stinks. It looks like my dam didn't do too good because I got some seepage over there. So I think I'm going to go, I want to get some of this. So I think I'm going to go this way. Okay. Alright, so dip. Let's go with the RC. About a 30 degree. Slow. Swirl it around. It didn't turn out too bad. I may have done a bit too much of the activator. Let's go out here and rinse it for a few minutes and get a lot of this clear film off. I'll be back. Okay, so here we have after the dip. I think it looked turned out pretty good. I got a couple of spots here, a couple on the top, and then a couple on this side as well, but I think that's because the ink was separating so fast. So what I'm going to do now is I've got this tape covering these parts on here that I'm going to remove before I do the clear coat. This thing is completely dry. Put it out in the sun a little bit, let it kind of bake. So let me get these tape masks off and we'll get to clearing. So I'm going to do a little bit with this tape removal. I did this as an addition to the drone because I wanted something to where I can do taping and masking. And you know, I wanted something that I could do just to incorporate that into the assignment as well. And I think it turned out, you know, pretty decent for what it is. It's the base material is a polycarbonate RC car body. You know, originally they come clear, and when these are painted, they're not painted on the outside, they're painted on the inside. And they use the shell as the clear coat. So what they'll do is they'll do whatever designs on the inside, and then they will paint, like this one's got a silver base coat, which will add, you know, that extra protection of layer on the inside. So when these things get wrecked, you're not tearing the paint, you're essentially you're just scratching the outside of the shell. And I wanted to try something different. Like I said, this is a polycarbonate they're vacuum formed, whereas the drone is injection molded. So I did want to try and see how this would hold up. And I want to make sure that I get all the tape and stuff off before I apply the clear coat. And then I'm going to make sure this thing is cleaned. Blow it off with an air compressor and that sort of stuff, just to make sure. Okay, so there we have it. Oh, we got one more window. Cool. So the instructions say three coats. You've got your first coat's going to be a light. Then your second coat will be a little bit wetter, medium heavy coat, and then your final coat is going to be the heavy wet coat. And then we're going to let it dry up. See what the final result is. Let's go out here and clear it up. Okay, so here we go. We have the final assembly. This is what the top came out to look like. I think it turned out pretty good. The only thing is I don't like how light it is. You know, you get your browns, your greens, your darker, but it seems like this particular pattern was very thin. And in this piece you can see, I don't know if the camera will pick it up, but it's like a fuzzy, hazy kind of look. I think this is the one where the pattern started to disperse and it made it thinner once the activator hit it. This one turned out pretty good. You can see the different colors. A couple little spots here that didn't get hit, but I did leave the bottoms the original gray. And then this one had a couple little wrinkles you can see, which isn't a big deal for me for something like this. This is just a really cheap drone. I think I gave $100 for it. And then we'll take a look at the base. You know, I was concerned about these channels, and it actually got in pretty good, considering I had a spot there. But I think overall, with practice, the hydro dipping could come a long way. You know, when I first, several years ago, when I first started looking at hydro dipping, you know, everybody was doing spray paint in a tub and just alternating colors. and it would turn out really cool, but you couldn't get patterns like you can today. You can get, you know, all these different patterns, and they turn out really good. But I think I may have done a little bit too much activator. You know, adding the dams to keep everything together was a bit tricky, but at the same time, this was the first time that I've ever done hydro dip. Overall, it was a pretty good experience. It was very interesting, and like I said, I think with a good bit of practice, you know, you can overcome some of these little shortcomings and these little issues. But this is complete. This is 3 coats of clear, flat clear, 2 coats of base, and then obviously the hydro dip film. I did do the RC car. This was all orange, and it had a pattern on it. But I think it turned out pretty good overall. It looks pretty cool. But it was this orange. It's on the wheels. But yeah, I wanted to try something where I can tape off and mask. These are the original stickers. No issues. I think it turned out pretty good. A couple little spots, but no big deal, because this thing will get pretty beat up over time, so I'm not too concerned with that. So I'll get back to reassembling this drone and get it all put back together, and I will show a final assembly once it's complete and all together. So now we have this thing all together. I think it turned out pretty good. I did leave the landing gears black, propellers black, power button black, and then these underside components are still the black or the gray, and then the battery itself is blacker, or the black gray, whatever it is. It does light up, everything works. Okay, I got the rear light, the front lights. Battery's about dead, so I think it turned out pretty good. Do I expect this finish to last? No. Do I expect to show signs of wear after the first use? Yes. You know, I think the hydro dipping is more of a cosmetic. Well, I know that it is a cosmetic finish, and I don't see it holding up very long, even with the clear coat and protective finish. I don't see it lasting very long. I did notice when I was putting this thing back together, the pivot points for these rotating arms were really tight as far as putting this thing back together, and that is because I didn't tape off the posts that these slide down onto, so that is, and I did clear coat on them as well, so it kind of gummed it up a little bit, but I imagine over time that will kind of work itself out. But other than that, I'm pretty happy with it. So again, the two pieces that I did the drone and the RC body. I will say, for the first time, my first experience doing hydro dipping with film, hydro dipping in general, because I've never done it with the paint either. I think it turned out okay. I'm pretty happy with it, actually. Would I do a gun? No. Would I do a stock? Possibly. But I don't know. The thing about this type of finish is, you know, you can strip this off and you can do something else. It kind of makes me wonder about wraps. You know, how durable would a wrap be with firearms, or stock, you know, for that matter. But I guess it just depends on what application you're putting it on. As far as RC cars are concerned and drones are concerned, I imagine doing a wrap is like a vehicle wrap is going to work out pretty well. But again, it doesn't necessarily change the dimensions, except when you start adding layers and you're doing like these hinge points. Whereas a wrap would do, it would add to the dimension of whatever part, based on the thickness of the actual material itself. But I don't think the film itself is what added the thickness, the dimension change. I think it's the clear coat. Obviously the sprays, the clear coat and the base coat, are what actually changed the dimension. But like I said, overall, I'm pretty happy with it, with all things considered. So until next time.